Hey Jordan, I was just reading up on the Exodus and its portrayal in both the Bible and the Quran. There's this interesting discrepancy that seems to be largely overlooked. Have you ever delved into the historical and scriptural details about it?
Oh, definitely. The Exodus is such a pivotal event in both religious texts. What's the discrepancy you're referring to?
Well, it's fascinating how different scholars and commentators approach the death of Pharaoh during the Exodus. For instance, Father DeVoe suggests that the Exodus occurred during Ramesses II's reign, but this doesn't align with the biblical account where Pharaoh dies. On the other hand, Piemontet places the event during Merneptah's reign, but also neglects the Pharaoh's death.
That's intriguing. The biblical account clearly states that Pharaoh and his army were drowned in the Red Sea, so ignoring that seems quite odd. It's as if some commentators are intentionally avoiding this detail.
Exactly. It's curious how Christian commentators, despite the clear biblical narrative, often sideline the Pharaoh's death. For instance, Father Kuroye, in his commentary, refers to the Quranic account and then attaches this bizarre legend about the Pharaoh ruling the sea creatures.
Right? I've seen that. The Quran mentions the Pharaoh's body being preserved, which is quite different from the legend Father Kuroyer mentions. It's almost like he's trying to create a contrast between the Quran and the Bible based on popular myths.
Precisely. The Quran's verses, 10 to 90 to 92, state that the Pharaoh's body will be a sign for future generations, which aligns with the discovery of the Pharaoh's body in modern times. It's clear from the Quran that the body was preserved, not that the Pharaoh continues to rule over sea creatures.
So the Quranic text is actually quite straightforward in this regard. It doesn't delve into fantastical legends, but simply states that the Pharaoh's body would be preserved as a sign. It's fascinating how this has been misinterpreted or manipulated in some commentaries.
Indeed. What's striking is that the Quran's statement about the Pharaoh's body being preserved could be seen as historically accurate, considering the mummified remains discovered later. Yet, some commentators seem to have a bias or an agenda that skews this interpretation.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder why there's such a deliberate attempt to overlook or reinterpret clear biblical texts and Quranic statements. It could be an attempt to reconcile different narratives or to fit them into pre-existing theological frameworks.
I think you're right. And this selective interpretation doesn't just muddy the historical waters, but also affects interfaith understanding. If scholars and commentators are willing to ignore or twist these details, it complicates genuine dialogue between religious traditions.
That's a good point. It's crucial for interfaith discussions to be based on accurate interpretations and an honest assessment of texts. Misrepresentations or deliberate obfuscations only hinder constructive conversations.
Exactly. And considering how important the Exodus narrative is in both the Bible and the Quran, it's vital to approach it with a clear, unbiased perspective. The historical and theological implications are significant for both traditions.
It's also worth noting that the preservation of the Pharaoh's body, as mentioned in the Quran, aligns with archaeological findings. This can be a point of dialogue to bridge understanding between the biblical account and Islamic teachings.
Definitely. It's an opportunity to highlight how religious texts can complement rather than contradict each other, provided we look at them without prejudice. This can lead to a more nuanced understanding of shared histories and beliefs.
And it can also encourage a more respectful approach to interpreting sacred texts. By focusing on what the texts actually say and aligning them with historical evidence, we can foster a more informed and respectful dialogue.
I couldn't agree more. It's all about getting to the heart of what these texts convey and how they reflect on historical events. The more we understand and respect each tradition's perspective, the better our interfaith relations can be.
Absolutely. And in doing so, we honor the integrity of these texts and the people who hold them sacred. It's a path towards greater understanding and harmony.
Well said. This conversation has definitely shed light on some important issues regarding the Exodus narrative. I appreciate you discussing this with me, Jordan.
Anytime, Alex. It's always enriching to delve into these topics and explore how different perspectives intersect. Let's keep this dialogue going.
Agreed. There's always more to learn and discuss. Until next time.
Until next time, Alex, take care.